is tolerable?
Sound is also very tolerable. So we are just, give us like 10 seconds for some technical things of the television and then we can start, okay? Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay. Perfect. Mr. Žižek, welcome in our studio on this virtual way.
Yeah?
I would like to begin with first sort of question. Could you think a little about narration? In the case of narration of the book and narration of the film, is there some huge important difference about these two narrations?
Oh my God, I expected more questions from the list that I got. So this is a theoretical point. What I think, but this may be not an interesting point for your listeners, so you can just use fragments afterwards.
Okay.
No?
Okay.
What I think is that although cinema may appear a more spontaneous art, like you can even be illiterate, you don't have to know anything, but cinema is much more artificial medium in the sense that when you read something or hear a story in words, it's much easier to grasp than what you see on screen. Just look at the history of cinema, how long it took, 20 years, till 1917, 18, that by Griffith and so on, a cinematic narrative, the language of was established. Like, all these codes, if a shot cuts from me to you, when do we perceive this as a continuous event? How do you indicate flashback and so on? So I don't think cinema language is more primitive. Mm-hmm. I think that it's much more ideologically elaborated. And so for me, in contrast to today's stupid motto that, intellectuals read books, cinema is for ordinary people. Mm-hmm. No. Books are for idiots. And to really follow a cinema, you have to be an intellectual.
Right now we are in a, from my point of view, sort of strange situation because we are in television studio. We pretend for the audience that we are in a room. You are at home. I don't know where exactly. Yeah. We are talking with us by internet, but we are in the real conversation. But is this situation real or we just pretend that you are in the studio or we are in the room?
By real for me is not external reality. Let me give you an example. We have the early October Revolution. I'm saying this as still some kind of a communist, Soviet Union in the 20s and then Stalinism. From the Stalinist standpoint, we say, the 20s were beautiful, new economic politics, democracy, then Stalin screwed it up. But when you read close reports to how the life in the 20s was actually in the Soviet Union, there was a lot of violence, brutality, starvation. This, when some historical period is behind you and when you look backwards, you usually construct something which is the true illusion. Yes. So I think this authentic October Revolution is something that doesn't exist. You can only look at it backwards from Stalinism. And I wrote something, since you are in Prague, no?
Yes, we are.
It provoked many of my friends, where I said that in this sense, the Soviet intervention in '68 saved the Prague Spring. You know what I mean by this?
I read it.
Imagine no Soviet intervention. It wouldn't have worked. At a certain point, the Dubček leadership would have to decide, do we retain a certain limit, like let's nonetheless not go too far in democratization, and it would just have been typical communist liberalism, like we have it in Yugoslavia, or they would say, let's go all the way, which would have meant goodbye socialism, we join the West. But the idea that there was maybe some possibility of an authentic socialism, this illusion was saved by Soviet intervention. I met a good friend of Andrei Tarkovskij. You know that at the end of his life, he was pretty desperate, I learned. He had the same tragic insight. when he did, his last two films, Nostalgia and Sacrifice,
Yes.
they are bad. It goes down. He, at the end, came to the idea that, my God, with all the oppression and so on, I could have done really great films like Zerkalo, like Mirror, Stalker, only in Soviet Union. When he got freedom, it was over. It's the same with Kieślowski. His really great films are still the Polish ones. I claim that, although even if in my book I say another thing, but I think I was wrong. It's, how do you call it, Pržipadek, usually translated as blind chance or decalogue. This is the great Kieślowski shot under the conditions of Jaruzelski dictatorship. When he was allowed to go to the West, he was what? He was realizing his dream of shooting half-naked beautiful actresses and so on. And I checked this with Agnieszka Holland, who knew him. Yeah. He said he slept with all of them. I mean, Juliette Binoche, Julie Delpy, and so on. It was the end of him. So this is my very tragic insight. We don't have to have too much political oppression, of course. I mean, in North Korea, you cannot make a good film, no? But too much freedom is also not good. But the right level of oppression, it's a very sad insight.
And for you, as Slavoj Žižek, for you, is it better to watch and listen than to read and imagine when I talk about the
I
fiction?
prefer to read and imagine. I trust words more. I think that pictures lie much more. Even when I watch, this is what totally corrupts my pleasure. Even when I watch a film, I always already think about theory, unfortunately, like how to interpret it, what to do by it. I cannot, unfortunately, and this is very sad, I cannot enjoy it immediately. I'm a little bit, for me, watching a film is a little bit like, although I'm not a mega fan of Woody Allen, but in at least early Woody Allens, how does the Woody Allen character have sex, make love? With Diane Keaton, for example, or whatever, they embrace and so on, but they have to comment it all the time. Oh, was I okay? Did you like it how I kissed you? And so on. I cannot enjoy it immediately.
Okay, I think, well...
Mr. Žižek, thank you so much.
And you do whatever you can be my censor, I like it. You can cut me short, you can make me look as an idiot, so that you put another question and then use my answer as if I'm answering another question to make me look an idiot or things like this.
We will definitely edit you, but now this way.
Because you, the lady, I don't like your dress. You are lovely, but you should have been more my domina, a black leather dress. And
that will happen, don't worry.
It will, that's what I like.
The next interview will be more dominant from my side.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Okay, do whatever you want with all this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you.
Let's go offline.
Bye-bye. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.